Back to our radio show. Oh, I'm with Raphael Cruz is with you
on Saturday.
this
Tomorrow,
Saturday.
I'm going to be with you.
Tomorrow,
In
Glenbeck will be
Iowa,
with you,
and
and
we're
really
I'm looking forward
looking
to it.
to it.
We were just talking
We're
the
talking
other day about the Washington cartel that
that
doesn't want to lose their influence. And in your book, you talk about the action steps that people have to take. It is a time for action. So what are the action steps? First one, make sure everybody understands that voting is their civic responsibility.
Absolutely. You know, if we don't vote, Glenn, we become part of the problem. One of the things that really shocked me, right after the 2014 elections, George Barna had did a survey among evangelical Christians, just evangelical Christians. And he said among evangelical Christians, when estimates are around 89 million, there were 12 million not registered to vote and another 26 million that didn't vote. That's 38 million evangelical Christians that didn't vote.
Yeah.
That doesn't include Catholics and LDS and others that we don't know what the statistics are there.
This is just
This is
evangelical.
This is just evangelicals. And as a matter of fact, that figure goes anywhere from 38 million to 58 million. So 40 to 50 or 60% not voting. So in essence, it becomes our fault. And they have used a series of excuses for not voting, like separation of church and state, which is not in the Constitution, it's not in the Declaration. As a matter of fact, it comes from a letter that the Danbury Baptists from Connecticut wrote to Thomas Jefferson because they were afraid that this new constitutional representative republic will impose on them a state religion like their forefathers had grown from 200 years before. And so Jefferson addresses this letter with another letter. Three things about that letter. First of all, he says, believing with you that in matters of faith and religion, those are only between you and your God. In other words, no one has the right to interfere. Number two, he says that their legislature shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. In other words, he quotes verbatim the First Amendment of the Constitution. And then he says, thus building a wall of separation between church and state. If we look at those three statements in context, it is absolutely clear that Jefferson is talking about a one-way wall. A one-way wall to prevent government from imposing a state religion upon we the people. A one-way wall to prevent government from interfering with our free exercise of religion. In no way, shape, or form can you infer that Jefferson was saying that people of faith should be divorced from the civic society.
And that's what people
are arguing about.
Absolutely, but you know, Jesus said the opposite. Jesus said that we are to be salt and light. Well, light is worthless unless you point it to darkness. Salt as a preserver is worthless unless you put it upon that which you want to preserve. And so what has happened is too many Christians have divorced themselves from the political process. You know, Jesus said also, render unto God the things that are God's and render unto Caesar the things that are Caesar. Too many Christians have interpreted that, divorce yourself from Caesar. Divorce yourself from the civic society. But that's not what he said. We have a responsibility. As a matter of fact, you know, you and I were talking earlier about how the model for government has changed. Historically, that model has always been authority comes from God to the government to the people. This is a man-made model.
Yeah.
And kings and tyrants have used that model historically to oppress the people, justifying it by saying, well, my authority comes from God, so I have the right to oppress you. But when those framers were on their knees, seeking revelation from God, revelation is what they got. And God gave them a totally different model for government. No longer authority flows from God to the government to the people, but rather authority flows from God to the people to the government.
Raphael Cruz is our guest today. We're going to continue to talk to him. He says it's time for action, and he has 5 points in a new book called A Time for Action. If you've never heard Raphael Cruz, you don't know why I feel so deeply about Ted Cruz. The acorn does not fall far from the tree.
More Raphael Cruz, some grabs when Time for the Radio Show continues.